Hey, this is Chris Creekmore, Creekmore Realty Group at the coast of North Carolina, and I am joined by my several members that are on the team. This webinar, just while I've got just a minute before I actually hit the start button, this webinar is going to be a part of this is our buyer series, and we're going to have every second week of the month. And if you go onto, you'll see the websites. If you go onto retire2nc.com or creekmorerealtygroup.com, you will see a list, hit the events page, and you'll see the events of the webinars that we have. But we will, each month, we will have a webinar dedicated just for people who want to learn tips and tricks and things about selling their property. And then this one, which is dedicated for the topic of buyer. So my team and I, we were talking, and we take quite a bit of time explaining the North Carolina contracts to our clients when we're going through the progression of identifying property and getting it all the way to closing. And we thought that this webinar might be helpful such that you're not as, or the viewers of this webinar may not be as confused or maybe as stressed when your agent, hopefully your agent is us, but we understand people who are on this webinar may not have made a decision who they want to help them represent them. But the goal is to inform, educate, and reduce stress for what ultimately should be an absolutely happy time. All right, now we're going to talk about the purchase contracts. So on the purchase contracts, we got a whole slew of those too. So an offer to purchase, think of the offer to purchase as the framework for the entire contract. New construction contracts are typically written by the builder representative, not our North Carolina standard forms. All right, so the basics of the contract, certainly the property description, the price, the due diligence fee. Let me talk about due diligence for a moment. What is that? Due diligence fee is an amount that you are paying to the seller that is non-refundable, but is applies to the purchase of the property once you move forward and go to closing. It is an amount of money that says to the seller, I am serious about buying your property. I'm not just blowing smoke, if you will. Earnest money. Earnest money is refundable all the way up until the due diligence date. Your quarterback, who is managing the clock, just like in a football game, is looking at the date as we are approaching the due diligence date. If we don't have an HVAC report back in time, we need more time. We either need to extend the due diligence or we need to cancel the contract. Bottom is, what is the due diligence date? In the state of North Carolina, in this area, due diligence is anywhere from 14 to 21 days. Typically, a settlement date is anywhere from 21 days to 45 days. Typically, again, all these terms are negotiable. Okay, so if I purchase property, I sign a contract in January 1, then deposits are due within 1 to 6 days. By contract, your due diligence date is due day 1, and your escrow is due within 5 days. You want to schedule inspections right away. You want to negotiate the inspection report by week 2, week 3. You want to get your appraisals and your loan. Actually, you want your appraisal back before due diligence date is up. And so the due diligence date, if I was going with 21 days, my appraisal document should be back before January 22nd. Then we're going to do a walkthrough closing prior to closing day, get your keys. So what happens during the due diligence and the closing date? Let's say there's 5 items on a due diligence report, and the seller says, all right, I'll fix all 5 items of that. They have that time frame between the due diligence and the walkthrough date to get the 5 items repaired or addressed, fixed, or whatever.
One of the things I like to share about this, and I really like about the due diligence, is that there's 2 times we get to negotiate when we make an offer on our property. The first time we negotiate is when we make the initial offer. The second time we negotiate is in our due diligence after we get our home inspection. And a good agent will be able to take your home inspection and turn that around and renegotiate for either money off the price or a credit based upon deficiencies found in the home.
So that's during the due diligence, that's when you're doing your inspections. Your inspections could be home inspection, your homeowners association documents, your septic inspection, your appraisals, boundary survey, zoning, pest inspection, roof inspection, soil inspection sometimes. So that's when you do it. Soil inspections are very important. And here's something also, I don't want you to be blindsided by the word impervious, but impervious is important. That's why I'm bringing it up. So if I am buying a parcel of land in Winding River Plantation, and the impervious limitations is 4,500 square feet, that means I cannot block water, shed water from coming over onto 4,500 square feet of that property. Your agent, your quarterback, your time manager We'll make sure that if there is a red flag, that red flag needs to be addressed prior to the due diligence and terminate prior to the end of due diligence so that you don't risk escrow. We have a form for the due diligence. We just did our home inspection report. John Hunter, by the way, just so you know, his son, Sterling Hunter, is a home inspector. He does a great job. He just inspected one of the most expensive houses in all of Brunswick County this year. So this form, it says to the seller, hey, we've identified 15 items on this report. We want you to fix 7 of them. Here's what they are. If the seller agrees to that, then the seller signs the form. We move forward. Your agent makes sure all those things get fixed.
Right. Somebody, I think Karen brought up a good topic in our meeting today, in that we had a builder tell Karen that she could not have a home inspection done on her new build. Her client was building a home with a particular builder. I'm not going to say names. And they told Karen, no, you cannot have your own inspection done. And Karen, as a knowledgeable agent, calmly looked that agent in the eye and said, yes, we can. Unless it's in the contract that we cannot have our own inspection, which we did not read, then we can do it. And the agent got back and very humbly and said, oh, I'm sorry, you're right, you can. Now, builders will try to talk you out of not doing a home inspection on a brand new home. My son Sterling, like Chris just mentioned, just recently, 2 weeks ago, we closed a new construction deal with D.R. Horton. D.R. Horton's one of the nation's largest builders and has as much weight to throw around as any builder does. On the third to last day, 3 days before closing, the buyer wanted to have their own home inspection done now that the home was complete. Sterling found 7 items, including the rafters needing to be sprayed for microbial growth. The builder took care of all 7 items, including spraying the entire rafters and the entire exposed wood area for microbial growth. So don't let anybody tell you you can't have your own representation and you can't have your own home inspection done.
Say this also, if you're looking at new construction, do not fly solo. Do not fly solo. We have seen so many cases where, I talked to the builder. I really like the builder. Even if it's a national builder, Chris, I already know I want to be there. Why do I need you? We have John Del Judas, who's not on this panel tonight. He can tell you a horror story, potential horror story that he fixed because he was there to advocate for his client. Deadlines and responsibilities. Due diligence fee is due day 1. Earnest money is due within 5-7 days. So we want to complete our inspections during our due diligence period, provide lender documentation promptly, and we want to meet all the approvals for the financing deadline. And we want you there for the final walkthrough. Sometimes, as an example, a window is fogged, and the seller orders that window, but it's not going to be shipped and delivered until after the settlement date. That's actually a very classic example. 12, one of the last pages. Here is a list of addendums that could be attached to the contract. If you sign a contract and the house is priced at $850,000, and then after due diligence, you discovered that HVAC is whacked out, needs to be replaced. You negotiate, your agent negotiates that we're going to take $15,000 off the purchase price. Ding, 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 an amendment now goes up. Jeanette just raised her hand. And before I hear what Jeanette has to say, I want everybody to know on this that's watching this webinar, Jeanette is my former paralegal who knows these documents inside and out.
Thank you, Chris. I just wanted to add to the amendment that, and all the agents here know this, not only is it getting the amendment added to the contract, if you're getting a loan, your lender has to get that. If you end up at the last minute and suddenly you've got an amendment, well, it's got to go back through the lender, the underwriter. So that's another critical reason why, the lenders need the amendment also.
It could delay closing. That's why I hope this webinar is helpful for everybody, because we want to circumvent any issues. We're hoping that you will use myself or this team to represent you in the transaction. But if you're not, we want you to be informed of what you should be looking for such that some of these heartaches do not fall upon you. All right, additional provisions. So again, this document, what is the additional provisions? Let's say you want to change the expiration date of the offer, or we want to the septic installation modification. Not run across that one very often. But the main thing that we use this form for is it's also another way to document what the sellers agreed to if you are going to if they're going to fix an agreement to amend. We see this one quite often. The agreement to amend is, say you want to change the purchase price because if the HVAC needs to be replaced, you negotiate the purchase of the price $15,000 down. So it was $850, now it's $825. So that's something that we look for a lot of times. Sometimes the due diligence fee. Sometimes you say to the seller, we need more time to do our inspections, and you've given them $500 in due diligence, and the seller says, I'll grant you more time, but I want another $500. So that's where you would see that. Or if you need to extend the due diligence time frame, I need more time. There is a document. Again, clarity, 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 clarity. Make sure your agent, if there's a change to any term of the contract, make sure your agent is submitting these contracts to the lender and also these amendments to the lender and to the attorney. Termination. So you want to terminate. If you're going to terminate, ideally you want to terminate before the due diligence date is up. Just so you know, in the state of North Carolina, you can terminate if you got cold or you stubbed your toe for any or no reason at all. So this form, which is a unilateral, the buyer, am telling the seller, I'm canceling. And you can do that if you do that prior to the due diligence date. If you're beyond the due diligence date, or even if you're before the due diligence date, and the seller says, yeah, okay, I understand it. This is a form that you can use if you're both in an agreement in terminating. And then it also says, okay, my escrow money is going to go to who? If you're terminating before due diligence, then full 100% of your escrow is going to go back to you. But